As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
The new face of IEBC, Wafula Chebukati and 6 others approved to take over the Electoral Commission.
Vijana wote na wamama wote na wazee wote waweze kuchukua kura.
From matatu crews to county governments, Kenyans face intense pressure to register as voters. Plus, Bishop Obukala to lead the Anti-graft Commission. Will he exercise the ghost of corruption?
The situation as it is now is that we are food secure. We have food to take us up to June of this year.
And barren lands. Marsabit joins the list as animals drop dead from effects of drought. Good evening, I am Ben Kitili live at the KTN News Center here in Nairobi on this 17th day of January 2017, the second day of the mass voter registration exercise. On the broadcast tonight, we shall seek to clarify some of the frequently asked questions that Kenyans have about the voter registration exercise. We are asking you to send us what you would like the IEBC to tell you about the registration exercise. We're asking you, what would you like to ask the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission about the voter registration process? Tell us, send us your views, your questions. We shall talk to IEBC, and on this broadcast, we shall seek to clarify a number of those issues. Many thanks for joining us. Our sign language interpreter is William Silla. KTN Prime begins now. The regime change at Kenya's electoral body, the IEBC, is fast approaching. This after Parliament early this evening approved the nomination of the team to supervise the country's next general election in just under 7 months. The Wafula Chebukati-led team now awaits President Uhuru Kenyatta's nod before officially taking over from the Ahmed Isaac Hassan's team. Morimi Mwangi begins our broadcast tonight.
Many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. Many of the contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it.
Through acclamation, members of the National Assembly approved the nomination of Wafula Chebukati to chair the country's electoral agency, IEBC, alongside the 6 nominees for IEBC commissioners.
Contribute to the motion.
But not without objection from some legislators who felt that Chebukati performed dismally in the interviews compared to other candidates.
Mr. Chebukati was second to one Mr. Tukero Olekina. How number 1 became number 2 and number 2...
Yes, that's your point of order, Honorable Amalo.
Mr. Speaker, is it in order for Honorable Memusi, who is my good friend, to mislead this House by saying that there's Olekina who was number 1 and yet we are not accessible to how the selection panel was scoring these candidates?
We have seen a lot of marginalization going on. We have seen a lot of purging of the Maasai community. Just the other day, 2 PSS were removed for no reason. Just the other day, the central bank, the governor central bank was supposed to be Lesirima. He was removed and ceremoniously he was number 1. Now we are seeing Tukero being removed again, just like all those others. The issue is there will be a time of reckoning.
Let's be very honest. None of these people come from my constituency or from my county. You know, when you stand in this house and you either support or oppose based on your ethnic orientation, it's a very sad day for Kenya.
Is it possible that the community which gave America its first black president cannot find a representative in 3 successive electoral commissions?
But with voter registration ongoing, the legislators were categorical about their expectations from the new IEBC team on the sanctity of the general election, which is only 7 months away.
He has him and his commission have integral business to do so that Kenyans who qualify to be elected will have to go through the commission.
It's not just about celebrating that we have commissioners in place now, Mr. Speaker. We have a duty as a people, as leaders of this country, Mr. Speaker, to give them the support.
We have to make do with what we have. We have to trust them, because if we cast aspirations, even before we have sworn in the commissioners, and we cast aspirations on the commissioners, I think we are not doing the country a favor.
As many as that opinion say aye. Aye. As many of the contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it.
Earlier, the National Assembly endorsed the nomination of retired Anglican Church Archbishop Eliud Wabukala to chair the country's anti-graft agency, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, but with a strongly worded condition to the soft-spoken cleric that the job will demand more than just divine intervention.
Where he is going, it's not the Anglican Church. Neither is it any religious activity. He is walking into a very dangerous institution.
We have gotten the right man for the right job. I know there are those who are fearful. They think that because he's a clergy, he's too soft for the job.
We had the tough-talking PLO Lumumba, who was speaking the Queen's English. And he used to say the issues of high voltage list, Mr. Speaker. He said he's going to go for the big fish, the small fish. Unfortunately, we never saw any big fish going down, Mr. Speaker.
Archbishop, the Reverend Wabukala, will only be able to perform this role, Mr. Speaker, if he gets unqualified political support.
Now, with the names of the EACC chair and the IEBC commissioners passed by Parliament, all eyes now turn to President Uhuru Kenyatta, whose final word can either reject or approve their appointment. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News at Parliament Buildings in Nairobi.
So with the rush for numbers, registering as a voter has suddenly become everything in Kenya, long before the August general election. In some parts of the country, passengers are barred from boarding selected public service vehicles unless they flash their voter's registration slip to prove that they have done the needful. At least one county has instructed its officers not to render services to those yet to be listed as voters. KTN's Timothy Otieno reports on day 2 of the mass voter registration exercise.
John Kairu is busy at work in Kitengela, Kajiado County. Over and above his responsibility as the driver of this public service vehicle, Kairu has assumed an extra role, that of ensuring passengers have registered as voters before they can enjoy his services. It's just one of the many unorthodox methods used by many in different parts of the country to ensure they achieve desired numbers in the ongoing IEBC voter registration exercise.
Na wahimiza waweze kuchukua kura kwa sababu jambo lizuri na likuu la kuweza kubadilisha system na uongozi wa hii Kajiado yetu county ni kupitia kuchukua kura.
Siku ya leo tumekubali kuweza kujiunga pamoja na kuanza kuhimiza vijana wote na wamama wote na wazee wote waweze kuchukua kura.
In Vihiga County, a circular originating from the Department of Public Service and Administration warning officers from rendering services to those not registered as voters has so far brought returns, that is according to its author.
The strategy is working because, like in Zavali Aduya, in 3 polling centers, we have had a turnout of 120 people coming to register, and this is actually a ward near the headquarters of this place.
In Nairobi, CORD leader Raila Odinga met Nairobi ODM aspirants, urging them to ensure as many supporters not only register as voters, but also turn up to vote during the August 8th polls.
Tuangalie zile ambayo tunaweza kuvuna, ile ambayo Waingereza wanaita the low hanging fruit, ambayo unaweza kuvuna kwa njia haraka zaidi kuliko kutafuta ile ambayo iko juu zaidi na pale vile vile haijaiva.
Constituencies 17, nafikiri tukijipanga tunaweza shinda 13 constituencies. So mimi nataka tufanye tushirikiane.
But despite the numerous efforts, the exercise still witnessed low numbers across the country, with only 430 people registered in Nyeri County, for instance, in the first day of registration. The scenes were similar in Bahati constituency, Nakuru County, where only a handful of people turned up.
Wale wote wameandika katika kasini wapatio muda ya kwenda kukata kura na kujiandikisha kama wafanyi kura.
Wengi wanalia sababu distance coverage ama BVR ziko mbali, so watu wanasema wagoje zifike karibu na kwao.
The month-long exercise, expected to net 1.6 million new registered voters, has seen the political class engage in massive voter sensitization in a bid to tilt the balance in their favor come August the 8th. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
Indeed, it is a race for numbers, and it is a basis of our big question discussion tonight. It is not a yes or no question. We are asking you, what would you like to know from the IEBC about the voter registration exercise? What would you like to ask the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission about the voter registration process? Tweet us or text us your burning question. Our SMS line 22155. You can also communicate to us through our social media platforms. We are currently talking to the IEBC. In a very short while during this live broadcast, we shall be going through some of those frequently asked questions for you. Stay with our story now, shall we? And close to 500,000 national identity cards remain uncollected in government offices, with the opposition now demanding the list be made public for accountability. Nairobi and the Rift Valley have the highest number. The two regions also have over 3 million people with identity cards but who are yet to register as voters. Patrick Amimo now reports.
As the mass voter registration entered day 2, almost 426,000 potential voters are yet to collect their identity cards countrywide. They include first-time applicants and those who applied for replacement of either lost or damaged IDs. Latest data from the National Registration Bureau shows 79,551 people in Rift Valley region are yet to collect their cards, followed closely with Nairobi region with 73,739 adults. Nyanza region has 61,700 people yet to collect their cards. Central region has 60,000. Eastern region has almost 56,000 people, followed by Coast region with almost 45,000. Almost 45,000 adults from Western region are yet to collect their identity cards, while Northeastern region has almost 5,000 people. The National Registration Bureau offered probable reasons for citizens not collecting their identity cards.
So there's an element of apathy where people are not concerned about picking their ID cards because perhaps they don't require them right now.
During the mass voter registration in February last year, IEBC pondered over the question of voters who had not collected their IDs being disenfranchised.
About 600,000 people were said to have applied for IDs released, but they were nowhere to collect those IDs. I think it's important that actors collaborate to ensure that where those IDs are, as much as possible, they get to the rightful owners.
The Registration Bureau has introduced measures to ensure the uncollected cards get to the rightful owners.
We are partnering with the national government administrative officers in the field, that's chiefs and assistant chiefs, to ensure that ID cards are distributed to their holders, especially in far-flung areas.
A sickening case of uncollected identity cards has been reported at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in West Gishu County. Besides using title deeds, leases and motor vehicle logbooks, the hospital also retained 35,000 IDs as collateral for medical bills. But the ID holders have vanished. The hospital is now seeking to recover 500 million shillings in debt through a 50% waiver of medical bills that date back from 1988 to December last year.
The whole of last year, we never took any IDs from anybody. We stopped taking IDs as a collateral for bills on 1st January 2016. But before that, there were IDs that had been taken amounting to 35,000. Title deeds and certificates of lease, 1,500. And logbooks, 389.
According to IEBC, 9 million Kenyans have identity cards but are yet to register as voters. Rift Valley region leads the pack with 1.8 million, followed closely by Eastern region with 1.4 million. Nairobi City and Nyanza region are in a neck-to-neck race with almost 1.3 million people yet to register as voters. Western region has 1.1 million unregistered voters, Coastal region 1 million, Central region 1 million, and Northeastern with almost 167,000.
Our plea is to Kenyans who are eligible to register to actually turn out to do so, because there will be no other registration after 14th February.
Patrick Amimo, KTN News.
This is the second day of the mass voter registration process by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Earlier, we did ask you what are some of those burning questions that you need addressed, maybe by the IEBC, concerning this all-important process of registering as a voter. And we have compiled about 4 of them, which we have spoken to the IEBC to just clarify and just what you need to know. The first, one of the most asked questions, do I need to carry my voter's card to cast my ballot? Those are the wording by a lot of our viewers. And the answer is, first of all, there's nothing called a voter's card. It is an acknowledgement slip. Once you register as a voter, you're issued with an acknowledgement slip, which is like a receipt for when you make a payment. That is what you are given, and you do not need to carry it. There has been a lot of incidents, verified or not, where people are asked to produce their cards to be able to prove that they have done the needful. You do not need to carry this on the day that you cast your ballot. You just need to present yourself physically with a passport or your national identity card. The IBC will use the biometric details that they have to identify you as a voter. You do not need to carry that acknowledgement slip on the voting day. So that is the information that you need to know from the IEBC. The second question that has been asked is, how can I change my polling station? Or how do I check my registration status? This is one thing that has been asked a lot. So once you register as a voter, remember the IEBC next, once this mass registration exercise is done, they will go to try and register people in the diaspora. And by May this year, they will be compiling the voters register, and after that there will be a verification, a period where verification of voters is done. This will be done through an SMS line that is already being used, but it is a test program, or via the website, or physically you can go to the polling station to make sure that the details are there. The IBC will be trying to make sure that everybody is registered. There's no double registration. If there are any issues, there will be time provided by the IBC to make sure those are addressed and everyone is happy. Let's now go on to the third question that has been asked a lot, and how can I change my polling station? This has been asked a lot now. If you need to change your polling station, you need to go to the polling station that you are transferring to, not the one you're transferring from. For example, if I want to transfer from Starehe constituency to Langata constituency, Uhuru Gardens polling station, I need to go to Langata, Uhuru Garden, and see the IBC, tell them I need to transfer where I will cast my ballot. They will give me some forms, Form D, which I will fill. The IBC will then use the biometric details in their system to make sure they do the transfer, and that will be complete. That is what you need to do. You need to go to the polling station that you are transferring to. The fourth and final question that we'll be seeking to clarify tonight is a question of, can I use a national ID waiting card to vote? The answer is simply no. We did ask the CEO of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, Ezra Chiloba, a few days ago on whether that can be done. The answer is simply no, because if you have a waiting card, you do not have a national ID card, you do not have an identification number, so you cannot participate in the election. Those are some of the frequently asked questions, of course, that we did receive from you tonight. Right, let's step away from the race for numbers a bit. And the Kenyan Doctors Union officials and the Health Cabinet Secretary Cleopa Milo today held a meeting that lasted over 5 hours to discuss the way forward concerning the doctors' strike. However, when they came out of the meeting, they gave journalists the silent treatment as sources revealed that there might be another session of talks tomorrow. Our reporter Nicholas Wambui has been keeping tabs on the doctors today and now joins us live from our City Center studios. Nicholas, you have been staking out the whole day. Has there been any word of any progress whatsoever on the talks today?
Thank you very much, Ben. And today marks the 44th day into the doctor strike, a day that marks suffering for most of the Kenyans who have been able to visit the public hospitals and, to an extent, some private hospitals with no treatment or with no service from the doctors. And today, Cleopa Mailu, that is the Health Cabinet Secretary, together with the doctors' officials, and held a meeting today to discuss a way forward into the doctor strike to see whether they can end it. And then today, it could be a hope, a sign of hope, hope to Kenyans that at last the CBA that is between the doctors and the government, that the doctors want to be signed or to be signed by the government as they agreed in 2013. Then for the first time, it was discussed in this meeting between the Cabinet Secretary and the doctors' officials. That is according to the reports that we're getting. And Ben, today in the meeting, although they did not disclose, it's like it was an agreement that they do not disclose what happened in the meeting. It is rumored that this CBA will discussed, and further discussions could continue tomorrow and come Thursday. That is even as Mombasa Senator Omar Hassan and Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo, who is also said to be part of the legal team of the doctors, urged the county governments and the Council of Governors to ensure that they do not, or they drop any sanctions onto the doctors and any threats that they issue to the doctors, that they are going to drop the doctors and maybe order or call upon Kenyans who are willing to apply for their jobs to take that step. But then they say that this is a step that is going to move us back, since this does not solve the problem. So Ben, right now, as it stands, we still do not know where the strike lies and whether it is going to stop or not. But then the discussions coming tomorrow and maybe Thursday, then they are going to inform us further. Back to you, Ben.
All right, Nicholas, very quickly, it has been 44 days, as you mentioned, of hardline positions by both sides. If we are indeed maybe seeing some progress, which side holds the key to, solutions to these talks?
Ben, as you can remember, what the doctors want is the CBA that they came in agreement with the government in 2013 to be signed or to be effected by the government. But then, as you can remember, last week in court, Judge Wasilwa said that the CBA was non-existent. And therefore, that to some extent brought the doctors' hopes down, because this means that what they have been calling for, or what they've been asking the government to do then, is nothing that is, it is not in line with what they want. Because if the CBA then is not, if it is not existing, then it means that there was no any agreement to take place between the doctors and the government. But then again, Cleopa Mailu, the Cabinet Secretary for Health, today now talking about this CBA with the doctors, it means that it is still in line. And therefore, it means that it now lies between the Cabinet Secretary, Cleopa Mailu, and the doctors. If they discuss the CBA, they come up with an agreement to agree or to disagree whether they are going to effect as the doctors want, or they are going to ignore it. Then that means that if they do not agree to what the doctors want, that means that after the 2 weeks, the doctors go back to court. But then if they agree, if Cleopa Mailu or the government agrees to what the doctors are calling for, then it means that they are going again to make sure that the doctors get what they want, or rather, they're going to get what they agree in the meeting. Back to you, Ben.
Thank you, Nicholas Ombwe. They're following that story for us. Remember, sources telling us that there could be another round of talks tomorrow. Now, it is a story about a mother struggling to keep her 6 children alive, including her goats, by having all share porridge. This is in the county of Marsabit, and she serves to illustrate the effects of the drought currently ravaging some parts of the country. This even as the national government says Kenya has enough maize stocks to last for 5 months. Dorcas Wangira has the details.
Khor in Marsabit County is among areas most affected by ravaging drought. Huo Nura lives here. She's forced to rise as early as 4 a.m. The little porridge she cooks must feed not just her 6 children, but also her goats and cows. Circumstances now forcing her to introduce the goats to the world of porridge and tea. She has recently received 17 kilograms of maize, which she must grind, or else there will be no porridge for her now extended family. Her husband, Umuro Kanchora, says they had a total of 500 goats, but now only 80 remain. Even if the drought ends, they will never recover their wealth, but they fear more for their lives, their own existence in this parched county, where the lifeline of the pastoralists is their livestock. The picture of Marsabit paints itself. Vast denuded plains full of the dead and the dying. Acacia thorns with shadeless stretches, stony and steep beats that exhaust people badly affected by climate change. An urgent human story.
Life is getting harder, and the donkeys have all died. Accessing water is also becoming an issue. Nafikiria vile hali ni ngumu, haoni unless mpaka kwanza avuke labda mvua ikuje, then hali ya kawaida irejee.
The county government of Marsabit has already suspended some of its development projects, if only to channel funds towards the management of the drought. Non-governmental organizations and various stakeholders have held an urgent intervention response meeting on how to cope and how to distribute food. A rapid response committee has already been formulated.
I know this dry spell is all over this country, but it's unfortunate that our leaders who are manning 85% of this country resources seem not concerned about the problems that people are facing. Our leaders at the national level seems to be having is only campaign strategies.
So the situation is very dire, it's getting out of hand. And as a county government, we've done our bit, but we are completely overwhelmed. We are appealing both to the national government to help us from the contingency fund.
But the leaders are also looking to the national government to declare not just what is happening here, but in other arid and semi-arid counties a national disaster. Marsabit is overwhelmed, they posit, those affected in the belts of Dukana, Huri Hills, Batharero, Forole and Ambalo.
This drought has actually come at a time when we actually did the harvesting.
The national government says the country has enough maize, 21 million bags to feed all of Kenya for 5 months. The Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Willie Bett allayed fears of starvation.
How should be able, combined with other food crops which is common to our people, which is rice, beans, the combination of that gives us a food balance which can take us up to June of this year.
But Kenya has never been short of warnings, whether from the weatherman, the meteorology department. According to the Famine Early Warning Systems Network in January 2017, most pastoral households remain stressed, except in parts of Marsabit, Mandera, Tana River, Garissa and Samburu, where some households are experiencing crisis, acute food insecurity. Between January and April this year, it is expected to get worse. And if the rains fail, Kenya will stare at a famine. Marsabit needs more than band-aid solutions, long-term ones steeped in its geography, economics, and humanity. Dorcas Wangira, KTN News.
One wonders just how keen Huro and his family and many others like them across those counties are keen on the process of registering as voters as they fight to survive. We shall continue to cover that dire situation here on KTN News. Now, many thanks for staying with us. We take a quick commercial break, but before we do that, let's remind you of our big question discussion. We are seeking to just find out what are some of those burning questions that you have about the process of registering as a voter that you would like the IEBC to clarify, tweet them to us, send them to us via our text line, that is 22155. We shall be trying to respond, as we have done in this bulletin, to them. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break. Don't go too far. KTN Prime. Now, proceedings at the Thika Law Court number 2 were halted for a while after a suspected kidnapper broke down in tears when charges were read out to him. Patrick Njoroge cried uncontrollably, telling the court that the investigating officer forced him to record statements. Njoroge also presented to court a blood-stained shirt, saying it was evidence of torture by investigating officers. The officer was requested to leave the court chambers for the suspect to express himself. Another suspect, Jacinta Nduta, shed tears when asked to plead to the charges. The 5 suspects, Patrick Njoroge, Monica Ndunge, Jacinta Nduta, and Faith Nyambura, Susan Gadhoni, were charged with different counts and jointly for kidnapping Kelson Kimani from their home in Thika. The 5 were remanded at the Thika police station awaiting bond determination on the 24th of February. All right, we're asking you what are some of those questions that you'd like to ask the IEBC about the voter registration process. Very quickly, Cosmo says, I would like to change my polling station, but in the same constituency and same ward. How do I go about that? And IEBC has responded to that, saying, go to the IEBC constituency office where you registered and fill transfer application. George Adam says, here in Kilifi, I cannot register for Homa Bay Station because clerks at Huduma Center have gone to the fields. Solomon Ambuku says, does election laws permit them to develop rules and regulations to execute discretionary powers in default? Good question there for IEBC. Amonga Collins says, I registered as a voter last year and I'm not sure if I shall be in Nairobi in August. Am I able to change from what we told you? Of course, yes, you're able to change, and IEBC would prefer that you do this during this month-long mass voter registration exercise. Many thanks for staying with us on KTN Prime. When we return, we shall be taking you to the world of business. Don't go too far.
Well, a very good evening and welcome to KTN Business. We start you off with some good news. Oil explorer Tullow Oil has announced a new oil discovery in Kenya with the Erut-1 well in onshore block 13T, finding oil at the northern limit of the South Lokichar Basin. Erut-1 was drilled to a depth of 1,318 meters and it cut a 25-meter interval at a depth of 700 meters, though Tullow Oil says the overall oil column is considered to be between 100 to 125 meters. The company highlights that the Erut-1 well was drilled some 10 kilometers to the north of the Etom-2 well, and it was designed to test a structural trap at the edge of the basin. And to some other news now. Kenya's largest mining venture, Kwale-based mining company Base Titanium, could be looking at improved returns in the near future. The company reported an improvement in the price of ilmenite in the markets and higher mining volumes over the last quarter for the year ended December 2016.
2016 saw some of the largest global mining companies by market value report alarming losses as the mining industry went through a series of fluctuating numbers from Zambia's copper to Kenya's ilmenite and rutile. However, in the last quarter for the year ended December 2016, commodities globally displayed resilience as evidenced by the increased numbers of mineral sand ilmenite. Kwale-based miner Base Titanium attributes this to a 40% increase in ilmenite prices in the quarter.
Prices for ilmenite bottomed out about the middle of last year at $60 a tonne, and we're now seeing them heading up to about $140 a tonne. So a real improvement in the market fundamentals, and very good news for Base Titanium in particular.
In September of 2016, Base Titanium introduced a hydraulic mining unit that it reports has set a mining operations record of 3 million tons for total ore mined over the quarter. Despite the good performance of ilmenite, other associated mineral sands like rutile and zircon recorded flat performance.
Hope that rutile will see a sort of small price improvement over the next sort of 3 to 6 months, maybe a little bit later into 2017. And same with zircon. Zircon's pretty flat, but maybe a small increase over the course of the next sort of 9 months.
However, overall, the company saw marginally high operating costs arising from lower production volumes, which resulted in a higher unit operating cost per ton produced. Base Titanium, which applied for special prospecting license to extend its operations towards the Tanzanian border, has also commenced the process of obtaining clearance for a preliminary exploration drilling program in northern Tanzania. Joy Doreen Bira, KTN News.
Indeed, some interesting times for the mining sector. Well, aside from that, we also have another development around post-harvest losses in the country, where stakeholders have called for players in the industry to scale up investments where post-harvest management needs to be given center stage. As Nairobi prepares to host the first ever Africa-wide conference on post-harvest management, Kenya is far off the mark in addressing post-harvest losses. The Congress, whose theme is reducing food losses and waste, sustainable solutions for Africa, seeks to contribute to the global agenda of reducing post-harvest food loss and waste. Currently, the most exposed crops lost to post-harvest losses are maize and mangoes.
1/3 of the world's available food never makes it to the table from the farm.
We are employing technologies, the AfloSafe technology, and we are putting up institutions and facilities which would help in application of the AfloSafe technology.
The Rockefeller Foundation has committed to sinking close to $160 million to reverse the current trend, where an estimated 30% or 1.3 billion metric tons of food produced for human consumption is lost or wasted along the supply chains. With the dry spell continuing to persist, many experts have warned that Kenya could go the import way when it comes to food security.
We would like to get the whole value chain being very efficient, reducing costs, transaction costs along the value chain, and for that to happen, post-harvest loss reduction has to be addressed.
Although several interventions have been mooted to cut down on losses, lack of awareness and affordability still remains a formidable obstacle to the cause. Abiyagina, KTN Business. Well, to the coast now. Cultural tourism is picking up at the Kenyan coast following the setting up of a themed ethnic Kenyan village resort at Mtomondoni, overlooking the Mtwapa Creek in Kilifi County. Kenya's 42 ethnic groups have all along exhibited rich cultural heritage, but the same has always been taken for granted and never been considered a worthy commercial activity till now. Here's more with Ashley Mazuri.
Located in the serene Mtwapa Creek, a cluster of traditional African self-contained huts incorporating various indigenous Kenyan cultures forms what is dubbed the Africa Kenyan Village, a cultural tourism experience designed to offer an African-themed outing for visitors. Composed of spacious mud brick huts, this cultural village offers intrepid travelers a new experience, with guests being able to enjoy the cool tropical breeze with the panoramic view of the mangroves down the ocean as birds chirp. Depicting different cultures from the Swahili and Mijikenda in coast to the bullfights in western region and Boran and Somali dances in the eastern and northern Kenya, the huts are simple structures made from clay, cow dung and thatch, set up in the shape of a medieval African village.
I've gone to Central, I saw how people lived before. I've gone to Masai Mara and I thought these people live a very interesting life. And I thought to myself, how come we do not embrace our culture?
Cultural allure is one of the untapped attractions in Kenya. Such initiatives may just be the missing piece in the fight to boost tourism in the country. Kenya has history, heritage and culture that need to be fostered through such initiatives. According to the Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers and Caterers, there is strong demand for cultural tourism as more and more foreign tourists seek authentic cultural experiences. Ashley Mazuri, KTN News.
Thanks, Ashley. And finally, Jumbojet has acquired a brand new Bomb Raider Dash 8Q400 next-generation aircraft, which is expected to further improve the airline's operations across its network. The new aircraft is leased from Abu Dhabi Aviation and will replace one of the current two Q400 aircraft Jumbojet is using and thus address reliability and punctuality by reducing downtime. Currently, the airline operates two Q400s and two Boeing 737. The delivery of the plane is expected to help the no-frills airline address the delays and stabilize its flight schedule across the country, especially the coastal routes including Ukunda, Diani, Malindi and Lamu. The aircraft has lower operating costs and will help optimize operations in terms of increasing the service quality as well as improving economics. The move also addresses challenging runway situations for some of Jumbojet's destinations, and the Q400 turbo drops capability to operate in such terrains, its jet-like speed, long-range cruise capability, and outstanding turbo-op economics were key to it. Well, that's how we wrap up KTN Business, and I'll leave you with the day's financial report. My name is Abi Agina. Thank you for your valued company.
Welcome to sports. Now, the fate of the three relegated Premier League clubs will be known before the end of this week. The three clubs, Thika United, Muhoroni Youth and former league champions Sofapaka, have appealed the decision and it's a waiting game. Football Kenya Federation President Nick Mwendo says the structure of the 2017 league is out of their hands but will be known in 3 days' time. There has been a tussle between Kenya Premier League and the Football Kenya Federation over the expansion of the league, but according to Mwendo, the thorny issues have been ironed out and all parties understand their mandates.
Through the special tribunal, we have been instructed on who should be doing what. And FKF is the principle of the game in Kenya. KPL is an agent of FKF. And therefore, FKF is not to interfere in execution of KPL's agency of running the league. KPL is also not to execute things they should not be doing, for example, promotion, relegation, referees, and such kind of things.
18 Kenyan football players will get a chance to be in the first East African team to play against an English Premier League team. The SportPesa All-Stars team that was launched in Nairobi will play Hull City on the 27th of February in a match that will be televised live on KTN.
27 players drawn from across the country are in camp at the Kasarani Stadium, fighting for a once-in-a-lifetime chance of playing against English Premier League side Hull City. The initiative, which was put together by betting company SportPesa, will see the Kenyan select team SportPesa All-Stars trimmed down to 18, who will make the trip to KCOM Stadium to face Hull City Tigers in a match that will be televised live on KTN. Hull City coaches who were in the country for 2 months scouting say the players that were selected for the Kenyan SportPesa All-Stars have the skills they were looking for.
But the overriding factor came, or what we've seen in November, was the boys were technically gifted footballers. Which is a vital ingredient for a player in the modern day game. Hopefully their experiences of what they'll encounter over the next couple of weeks and the up and coming games, hopefully that will benefit especially the ones who are younger.
At the launch of the SportPesa All-Stars team camp in Nairobi, stakeholders in football say the initiative was a step in the right direction, in line with developing football in Kenya as the country seeks to take part in the 2022 World Cup in Qatar.
It's part of SportPesa's long-term commitment of not only supporting local football, but also providing a platform for Kenyan players to be exposed to the lucrative European market.
Experience alone, even without playing, will give you a change in mentality, a change in the way that you want to play. Playing, obviously, then you never know. You never know in football, you never know. You might show up there and somebody might see something good in you.
And this is the main reason why we should now work together as a team and focus all our energies in improving the standards of Kenyan football.
The select team will be in camp for 2 weeks before an 18-man squad is selected. The selected team will take on Hull City on 27th February at 9 p.m. Kenyan time. Robinson Okenye, KTN Sports.
Let's step away from football shortly. KCB women volleyball team has kicked off the national trials as they seek to bolster their squad ahead of the new season. The Bunkers will be targeting to recruit at least 5 new players in the 5-day exercise at the Railway Club. The Bunkers are keen to strengthen attacking and backcourt defense to challenge for major trophies this season. Height and basic volleyball technique are the only requirements for the new recruits, according to the team coach. Team captain Doreen Marani, who masterminded the 3-0 victory over Pipeline last season, says that the Bunkers will seek to extend their national dominance. The 5 players will join last season's signings Doreen Marani, Christine Siwa and Fosca Kasisi. KCB performed well last season, reaching major finals twice, finishing on top positions.
Process of recruitment is only these 5 days, up to Friday. And what we are looking at mostly are good players that can help reinforce our backcourt, and maybe 2-3 players which must be 12 players who will help us in our team. Because for the new season is position 1, and I believe we'll make it.
Has been the second day of the race for numbers, the second day of the mass voter registration exercise, the last one before the August 8th general election. We did ask you today, what are some of those burning questions that you'd like to ask the IEBC about the process of registering as a voter? Very quickly, let me go through some of them. And one here from Christopher on Twitter who says, after the registration, IEBC should tell Kenyans how many people are registered in every county. One here from Stanley Konambi says, one can visit a registration center with ID to confirm, just confirmed mine. And Blackstar says, has IEBC effected transfer of the details of voters who we wanted to change from one polling station to another? Final one here from Jude Muyoma says, does IEBC have a diaspora registration center in Arusha, Tanzania? Some of these questions we shall be seeking information from the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and bringing it to you here on KTN Prime. Many thanks for joining us on the broadcast tonight. I am Ben Kitili. Good night from Nairobi.